Good morning. As I was looking at our calendar and the fact that we have a test next Tuesday on December 8th, and the fact that we haven't done the graphing since before Thanksgiving, I thought it would probably be a good idea, even though we are going to work on factoring today with those worksheets, if we started doing a little review now, because it's been so long since we saw these things. So if you could grab just a piece of clean notebook paper so that we could just run through it, and it'll be short. I only have 2 problems for us to go through today. Because my worry is we start the review for the test on Friday, and I'm wondering if everybody remembers everything about how to graph in vertex form and standard form. So we're going to graph in vertex form, and then we're going to look at a factoring problem today, and then I'll be letting you go to do your factoring. But like I said, those of you that are just joining, maybe grab a clean sheet of paper. We will be reviewing again at the end of the week and next Monday, but I've talked before about how our brain research shows that if we do something wrong and we learn it wrong and we put it in our long-term memory wrong, it can take up to 19 times of seeing it done right. And I don't want anybody doing these things wrong on Friday when they do the review. So we'll just go through one of these. Those that are just joining, I just asked everybody to grab just a clean sheet of notebook paper. We're just going to run through one graphing and vertex problem, and vertex form problem, and then one factoring problem before I let you get going on your worksheets today and asking questions. So this one is graph y equals -2 times the quantity x plus 3 squared plus 1. And that is definitely our vertex form. Right there. So can anybody unmute and tell me where the vertex is? -3 and 1. Remember, with the x, we're always talking about the opposites there. This is going to be a little tougher because it's been so long. Anybody remember how to write that equation for the axis of symmetry?
Is it a -b over 2a?
Oh, you're thinking about standard form. Yes, in standard form it is, but this one's vertex form. It's been too long, right? Yeah, this is why I wanted to cover one of these today. I got worried. It's always going to be, with us, because we're only doing up and down opening parabolas, it's always going to be vertical. So it's x equals, now your memory's helping you? X equals what?
-3.
Yes, because it has to go through the vertex. Good. All right. So now I have to remember, okay, graphing in vertex form was so easy. We did it in 2 days, and my brain just says, I totally forgot this because it was so easy. But here's what we do. We graph y equals a x squared, because remember, a is responsible for shape. So that A is going to tell us whether or not it's wider, it's narrower, stretched or compression, those types of things, and whether or not it's been reflected. So with this one, I would need to graph y equals -2 x squared. So I'm just going to find a few nice points and use symmetry and graph that as my parent function. So I'm thinking 0, 1, 2 might be nice numbers. So if I put 0 in here, 0 squared is 0. 0 times -2 is 0. Put a 1 in. 1 squared is 1. 1 times -2 is -2. Put a 2 in. 2 squared is 4. 4 times -2 is -8. But this is my parent function, not my final graph, so this is going to be dashed or dotted. 0, 0, 1, -2, and 2, -8. Because of symmetry, I also will get -1, -2, and -2, -8. And now all I have to do is move it. to its new position. So I've got the parent on there, and now I need to know how to move it. So somebody unmute yourself and see if you can tell me where I need to move this parabola. Exactly. So it's going to go 3 to the left and up 1. And I'm just going to take those nice points that I had before. My 0, 0 is going to go 3 to the left and up 1. My 1, negative 2, 3 to the left and up 1. And my 2, negative 8, 3 to the left and up 1. And I'm going to put on my new axis of symmetry because that'll make it easy to get the second half of this graph. So there's my axis of symmetry at x equals negative 3. And I just go equal but opposite on the other side, and that will be solid. Oops. Smartboard is not writing. There we go. Took it a few times to wake up. Now, that's a lot already. But the other questions that you're going to be asked about this on the test have to do with domain and range. And does it have a maximum or a minimum? And if it does, where is it? So let's talk about domain and range first. What would the domain of this be? It is, yeah, because it's going right and left forever. Kind of slow, but it's going right and left forever. The range is definitely a little tougher because there's a cutoff, right? So unmute. See if you can remember how to do the range.
Y is less than or equal to 1.
Beautiful. Exactly, because this high point here, our y value was 1. So speaking of that high point, also write down on your piece of paper, be something like this on the test. It's going to say maximum or minimum. You're going to need to circle which one you believe it has, and then you're going to have to tell us what is that lowest point or highest point. So does this one have a maximum or a minimum?
The maximum.
Yep, highest point, right up there. And what is the y value at that highest point?
1.
Yes. Now, I wouldn't mark it off if you gave me the ordered pair, if you did negative 3, 1. But really, all we're interested in is what's that highest point and what's that lowest point, which means it's the y that we're taking a peek at. So, what do you think? Feel a little bit better about them now that we did one?
Yeah.
Okay, one person feels better. Again, we're going to be reviewing on Friday and Monday, but I wanted to get one of these in, and then I think tomorrow I'm going to give you a standard form one, and we'll go through that too, just so that we can try to bring some of those memories back, because really, you guys did so great on this. I am afraid that it was so easy that you have forgotten how to do it, and that happens. When things are super easy, unfortunately, we need lots of them to make our brain remember them. So go ahead and write this one down too, because this is going to be a little weird, and that's because we have to take these tests online. So number 2 says factor x squared minus 7x plus 12 completely. Now here's why it's going to be weird. Does everybody see what you're going to be given? Or is this in the big blind spot? Maybe up a little higher. Do you see how that already has pluses in it?
Shouldn't it have one positive, one negative since the middle numbers are negative?
Look at it again. Has to multiply to positive 12 and add to negative 7.
4 and 3.
Okay, but what about 4 and 3?
One has to be positive. The other one has to be negative since it's a negative 7.
Right. They both have to be negative. So if this is on, and we know it's going to be multiple choice or fill in the blank or whatever, what should I be putting in here since I know it's supposed to be -4 and -3? So it really should say x minus 3, x minus 4. What do I put in those blanks? It's going to look really weird. That's what we have to put in. And that's because the definition of subtraction is adding a negative. So if you see this on the test, try not to get all caught up in the fact that there's pluses in there. Just think, what are the two numbers that multiply to give you the last number and add to give you the middle number, and just fill in the blanks. So I was looking over the test, given that it has to be the online version of the test that we have, and I noticed this, and I thought, that's a little weird. We better talk about that. And again, that's another thing I'll talk with you about on Friday and Monday as we review. But that's it for today, except I need everybody to be able to find this little monster, which is the 4-4 practice. For those of you that were in class, it's a nice fancy yellow, canary yellow looking worksheet. And I'm going to go to my computer and show the distance learners where they can find it. So distance learners, it's here on Schoology. It's in this black file that says digital copies of worksheets and handouts. And we'll scroll down until we see something that says 4-4. There it is. Algebra 2, Section 4-4, Factoring Worksheet PDF. So, like I mentioned yesterday, you don't have to print this out. You could just bring this up on your Chromebook and, use regular notebook paper to write all of your answers for that canary yellow worksheet that we have there. So now, this is time for you to work on that worksheet and or ask questions about anything you've been working on that maybe it wasn't an FAQ and you want to see it. So at this point, if you have a question, this would be the time. Otherwise, I suppose you could mute me and work on it. But I do want you to be available here in case you have a question. So don't be afraid to pop back on if you're going off to do this worksheet. Just if something gets tough, I think there's a couple of wordy problem type things on here. I want you to be able to pop back in and ask me. Okay. So now, anybody have a question about any of the homework problems you've been working on, or maybe you just have a general question? Well, then I'll just hang out in case. So know that I'm here if you get stuck or you need to ask something.